We've got the money we need to move forward with a larger system. I've shown the bank that we can do what we said we can do, and that's kind of the reason why the business is based the way it is. We have essentially a 1-barrel brew house right now, and we're upgrading to a 10-barrel brew house. It's still really small.
Right,
but it's a lot bigger
but it's still a big leap.
Yeah, it's
One
giant.
to 10.
Yeah.
From tiny to small, basically. That's what I tell people.
Right.
Hey everyone, Amanda here, and welcome to another episode of Great Beer Adventure. Today we sit down with a gentleman over at Austin Street Brewing Company, Jake and Will. They speak to us about their 10x expansion. I am so very excited that I'll be able to get more Austin Street brews in the near future. But Austin Street isn't the only one going through an expansion. We are as well. In the new year, we have so many exciting things happening. We're bringing more team members on in order to bring you more content on the website, greatbeeradventure.com. We're going to be expanding to twice a week, and we plan on bringing you more co-hosts. Keep your eyes out for new things as we gear up for 2016. But for now, let's head on over to Austin Street Brewing Company, which isn't actually located on Austin Street. Everybody, I am sitting here today at the table with a bunch of awesome people. We've got Jane, and we've got Jake Austin, and we've got Will Fisher. So obviously we are at Austin Street, which is housed in One Industrial Way, which is kind of known as the incubator here in Portland, Maine. Everybody kind of starts here, becomes amazing and awesome, or comes in amazing and awesome, and then grows out of here rather quickly, it seems. Would you agree with that, gentlemen? Would you like to say hi? Are we going to?
Yes and yes. Yeah, it seems like everyone who started here goes on to bigger and better things. There was one exception, but yeah, Maine Beer Company started here, and obviously we know what they've become. Big, awesome brew house out in Freeport now. Rising Tide, obviously just crushing the local scene as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this is where it all starts.
Lovely. We're so happy that you are in this space because we know that you are doing amazing things. I love your milk stout. Just to put that out there. So all of our listeners know I actually brought my growler to fill up with milk stout and go home today. So excellent. I know, it was good planning. You have to think about these things. So this is part of the show where I actually tell you a little bit about yourselves. It's whatever I can find on Google.
Sounds good.
I will warn you, I have no Google skills.
Okay.
I'm lacking in that department. Okay, so let's start with Jake. So even though your name is Austin, this wasn't named because of that. You actually lived on Austin Street. Is that true?
Yep, I still live on Austin Street. That's where the whole thing sort of started, basically. We started homebrewing there. Basically, as soon as I got that house, I was homebrewing on the back deck, then kind of in the garage, and kind of took over the basement, and took over the second floor. And yeah,
We've heard that is the way it happens quite a bit. Now, when I was growing up, I actually lived on a road the same last name as me, but it was named after me. Was it just a coincidence that you ended up on Austin Street?
Yep, yeah, very random. It's one of the last houses we looked at before we bought it, and yeah.
Okay, so I also found that you both were part of the Bark and Brew tour that happened with Maine Beer Tours.
Yeah, we've done quite a bit with Maine Beer Tours.
Yep.
I thought that was an interesting.
Yeah, we've done both buses visit us every Saturday here, and we've joined in on other random things with them as well. So
are you dog friendly?
yes.
Awesome. So
there's always a dog dish here with water in it.
Yeah,
During tasting our lives.
nice. So bring the poochies on by. And one last thing, your Facebook does say you currently live in California.
Mine does, yes.
Yeah. Is that a frame of mind? Or are you leaving us? Or what's the story with that? You just
that's just my thing of Facebook not needing to know absolutely every little thing about me. So
Have you ever lived in California? No. Okay.
never been off the East Coast.
Are you from DC? Because it also says that. No.
Nope. That's all totally random.
Okay, cool. All right, so moving on. So looking through, I saw less information about you if it wasn't directly connected to Austin Street. But I did find from your Facebook page what it appears that you really love racing. There's lots of pictures of cars.
Yes.
Yeah, lots of them.
Yeah, so Jake and I, our backgrounds are in the automotive industry. So we were either working on cars or working for companies that worked on cars, whether dealership or repair shops. And along with that, we have an personal interest in cars as well. And that used to be a bigger part of my life kind of before the brewery. So done a couple of track events and things like that along the way. So but that's kind of fallen by the wayside with the business and the brewery taking over. And
Yeah, I hear they're quite time-consuming, starting a brewery.
That is what we've heard, yeah.
it's the only thing that might be as expensive as operating a brewery is like racing cars.
Yeah. And then the last thing I did see is that you guys are brother-in-laws.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Jake is married to my sister Catherine.
excellent. And how's that relationship going now that you've started a brewery?
That's for Jake.
No, I mean the
Let Jake answer
brother-in-law.
that question.
Getting closer.
Are you talking about his marriage or their relationship?
No, your relationship, gentlemen. Now that you work together, you've gone past family, and now you're.
Honestly, yeah, on that front, I would say the same, really.
Yeah.
Almost no change, really.
Really?
Yeah, it's been all the things, the horror stories and stuff. And I know a family that's a family business. We both worked for family business as well. So we've kind of seen the ins and outs. And I would say, given what I've seen, good and bad, and everything in between, that the relationship is maintained. We have the brewery relationship, but we also have still a really good friendship as well. So like
We can still go out and just hang out and drink beers and not even talk about the brewery.
yeah.
For better or for worse. Sometimes.
Yes. Sometimes you need one thing or the other,
Right.
and we just kind of find that sweet spot. So yeah.
Well, excellent.
Nice.
Well, at this point, I think we're going to move right on to the first round.
Yes, good. So, this is the round where we get to taste your delicious beer. And this is in a beautiful glass.
Yeah, that's our sort of house sort of go-to glass for now. We're actually downsizing that at some point here
I was
soon.
going to say the thing I really like about it is the size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 16 ounce for now. We're dropping back to a 13 ounce, but that same exact sort of shape
I love the shape, yeah.
that kind of just focuses the aroma and flavor very well.
Jane does have a thing for glassware.
I do have
She really likes
I have a lot.
We do too. We
Glasses.
understand.
We have all kinds of. We can show you all kinds of different glass.
That'd be
The
great.
secret room out back.
Yay. And not only is the glass nice, the beer looks like a wheat beer.
It's very cloudy and hazy, but it has a little bit of wheat in it, but it's actually our pale ale. It's called Patina Pale, a very hop-forward American pale ale. Haziness due to the yeast itself, and then also a pretty heavy hand with the dry hopping as well, which imparts a pretty solid haziness.
I never actually realized that the dry hopping did the haziness as well.
Yep, it can, absolutely.
You learn something new
Yeah.
every single time.
It's delicious.
Yeah, it does.
Hoppy.
Very hoppy.
Yep, very hop forward, but hopefully not like too bitter. Like hopefully just getting the best flavor and aroma out of the hops, but still ultimately very, very palatable, very drinkable.
Yeah, I would say that one thing that I've noticed is there was a really crazy push for West Coast hops, like very in your face, smack you around a little bit.
Yep.
And then it seemed like there was a little bit more of a wave of beers that are kind of IPAs, but they're more subtle and around. I feel like this is someplace nice and in the middle. You definitely can tell that it's got some of those hops in there, but it does have a bite to it. Not so much that you feel like somebody kicked you in the face, but just a slight bite. And
Yeah.
I think that it kind of wakens your palate up a little bit.
Yeah, it is definitely, because for a long time I thought I didn't like IPAs because I only had tasted really, my word is bitter.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Bitter
Okay.
and malt, heavy malt.
And then I had this fabulous IPA at Novari Resin. I said, this is not an IPA like I've ever tasted. And it was more citrusy and floral. And then I was happy to learn that there's a lot in between.
So you said this was a pale ale. What's the difference between an IPA and an APA and a pale ale?
Pale ale and an IPA, and right.
And all of these different things.
For me, the big differentiation, I guess, would be that level of bitterness, but also alcohol percentage. This is only 5.3%, so it's still sort of in that pale ale sort of range. But most of the hops come from dry hopping, so not a lot of bitterness that you'd get from an IPA.
Right.
The key is kind of balance, I think, too. Like there's bitterness, there's a base that you're still getting at the end. So there's that nice little like bite towards the end. But yeah, there's a lot of floral hop flavor and aroma like coming off the nose too. So the key, I think, is balance.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty cool.
The key to everything, really.
Yeah, like to life.
Key to life.
We found out the key to life sitting here, one industrial way with Austin Street. Woo! So anyways, what I think I really like about this is my whole tongue feels alive when I put it in. Like there's so many different flavors in there that it hits like my whole tongue while I'm sipping it. It's not just one.
That is a good point, yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot going on in the tongue.
It's very hop forward, but yet not focused on one hop. We actually use 5 different hops, I guess, if you want to include the bittering hops as well. Huh. But yeah, all those hops sort of add something new. But hopefully all kind of come together as well and kind of work together.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it unusual to use that many hops in one beer?
In a pale ale, maybe. Definitely more of an IPA type of thing to use that many different hops. But yeah, we're basically trying to make an IPA here, but keep it down at 5.3%. Okay. Keep the bitterness turned down, all that sort of thing. A drinkable IPA, but not quite fully in that session IPA world.
Right. So now... We've talked to quite a few people that have talked about getting hops and how it's kind of difficult when you're just starting out. You're pretty new still, right? How long have you been in this space?
We've been open. Business has been open for just over a year and a half, and we started here. So.
And so, do you have a regular supply of hops that you can get now? Or are you still trying to pick and choose? Does that have anything to do with why you decided to go with 5, or did you make this recipe beforehand?
This is the one, well, not the only beer, but one of the bigger beers that I worked on a lot as a home brewer. The big thing, I guess, with this beer is that it uses 5 different hops, but they're all hops that we can easily get, because that is an important thing nowadays. You can't just get whatever you want, unfortunately.
So when you were working on it as a home brewer, did you know that was going to be something that you came up with, or you...
Initially, I mean, the beer started off as just something we and Will wanted to drink, basically. And then kind of
as motivation.
As we kind of, once we realized, like, actually, we're going to try to make a business around this beer and a few other beers, it was like, all right, like, we need to really make sure that we can get these hops, easily and cheaply and, just readily available hops, but still make a really good beer that we were proud of serving and drinking.
I think we've been able to basically do everything we've wanted to do hop-wise so far. And to answer your question, we have kind of pieced together. We get hops when we can, as this first year and a half getting going. We have conversations about beers that might involve hops that aren't readily available. Those conversations might come up, but for the most part, we've been pretty lucky getting through doing the stuff we want to do with what's available, for sure. And then moving forward, there's much more planning that goes into that, which is contracting hops for future growing and harvesting seasons, which we're on top of right now as well. So
it's just
years out.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about like all that goes into, like, you can plan and make a recipe right now, but not be able to actually brew it for years. Okay, well, that's cool.
They have a long-term goal.
Right.
Yeah, long-term goal. Make this beer like in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's a recipe we're working on now that we're thinking about brewing, honestly, like, at least a year, maybe almost 2 years from now is what we're kind of planning on, because that's when the hops will be available. So
we get a little bit. Jake does a pilot. We taste it. We like it. We start talking to that rep from that company. He talks to the growers. We start the allocation, and we start paying money. So we start contracting
between the hop grower and you guys.
Typically, in our experience, at least, yeah.
Yep.
And is it like a catalog? This is all so fascinating to me. Like, you wouldn't believe. Like, so, you can, like, look through those, like, roses catalogs and be like, oh, those are lovely roses. Like, is it like that? Or is there, like, an online version of that? Or is there somebody come in and be like, hey, look at my hops? Like, what is it like?
Yes, all of the above, honestly.
Really?
Like, yeah,
There's a hop salesman?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big industry, huge infrastructure for growing hops, and then harvesting and distribution is just huge.
Yeah, we have a local. Well, luckily, there's a guy for the East Coast that represents this hop grower that we work with. He actually lives in Maine, like 2 times over or whatever.
Oh,
the one time, like the person you need
lucky.
actually lives in the state, not somewhere else.
So he represents a company that's on the West Coast, though. So we just got lucky in the fact that he actually lives right nearby. He can come over and taste the beers and see what we're doing, and kind of figure out like, do we want to help these guys out, sort of thing.
Right. So does he like come in like with a briefcase that he just like is like showing his wares? Does he like throw open the trench coat? He's like, look at my fine hops.
Initially, yeah, like before he got to know us, it was kind of like that. Yeah, he brought like a big.
It was like door-to-door sales.
Yeah, like. But now he just kind of comes in and hangs out and drinks our beer, and
And the good thing with that relationship is like he kind of gets to know us. We've sat down with him and tried other beers together and talked about those. He actually taught us a lot about the hop growing industry, which is very nice for him to do that. And then he knows like what we're trying to do. He can bring hops to us instead of just saying like, here's a bunch of hops. He can bring one to us and say, I think you guys really might want to try this or look into this one. He actually becomes kind of like an ally for the brewery as well, as far as like planning those next beers out. So it's very helpful.
Can we get his number? I think I'd like to sit down and talk.
I'm not sharing.
We can talk about it after. I'm not going to be.
That's our guy. Sorry.
Fine. I'll hunt him down myself.
This is our second beer. This is a milk stout, you said?
Yep.
Yes.
And we just call it what it is, basically. That's the name of it. We call it milk stout.
Milk stout. Direct. Good.
Yep.
Nice deep color.
Yeah, it's really dark. Very, very dark.
Yeah,
Very
basically standard sort of stout recipe. A lot of roasted barley, a lot of chocolate malts. The milk aspect comes from the lactose sugar that we add in there, which kind of contributes a nice sort of full body and like a little sweet finish in the beer, which helps round out all the roasty, chocolatey notes.
It's amazing.
Good. I'm going to have to get my own growler.
One of my first loves in the beer world was Portsmouth Brewery's milk stout. And I always felt like I was like drinking a coffee milkshake kind of. And it was so good. And I haven't had it for a very long time. The last time I had it, I don't think all the sweetness was quite there that I put in my head. Like, you know how you always like think of something and you like elevate it to be the most amazing thing that you've ever had if you really liked it.
Or person. Yeah.
Right, person, right. Same thing. Like, you're like, oh, that person was awesome. And you're like, wait a minute. But what I like is that this is exactly what I made Portsmouth Brewery's milk stout to be in my head. Like, this is it for real.
Yeah, this is
We had
wonderful.
This was a beer we were going to do through the colder months. Was re-released 3 weeks ago, basically, and we're going to run it through the winter time. Same plan as last year, but it became a very popular beer for us, and we actually rebrewed it through June of 2015 of this year, and then cut it off, and then people were like, freaked out about it. So it's like a 3-month hiatus, and it's back now, and we kind of thought it'd be kind of cool to reintroduce it to people, especially as we're growing. So, but the beer became a lot more than we thought it was going to be as far as popularity and people asking for it. So,
I can understand why.
What I think is really neat about, well, first off, if you look at Jake, you still have a little bit of the first beer left, and the dark one, there's nothing at all that is remotely the same about those two beers.
No, yeah, we try to brew everything very distinct, honestly, like no matter what style it is. Even if we brew a different pale ale, it should be quite a bit different than patina, basically.
I haven't been able to like put the dots together to figure out what your style is. You don't have one, do you? Like, am I wrong on this?
as a whole, no.
Yeah. Like, as a
think so.
collection, they're just Austin Street. There's not like Austin Street's these type of beers, right?
Yeah, we actually had a little meeting earlier with our new employees and everything, and we talked about that. Like, not getting locked into one style, but also not trying to do every style too. Just kind of honestly just brewing what me and Will like and what we want to drink, basically, at this point.
That's a good business plan. If all else fails,
We like it.
Right.
We drink it.
so if
We brew
nobody
it.
else likes this,
Right.
at least we do.
Exactly.
It's like even if you're working for another company where you're selling their product, I mean, if you don't like what they're doing, and even if it's our own thing, it's like we're never going to do something we don't like, and then not picking or deciding on a certain style leaves us wide open for that exact reason to do whatever we want. Really no needs ever, I don't think, to determine that we're one type of brewery or another.
There's definitely some themes that I think for
Yeah.
for our regular fans that come here week after week, they kind of figure out like what we're all about, like what we're trying to do.
So he's just basically saying that I'm not regular enough. That
You're not devoted enough.
You should be able to answer that
have to
question
work
yourself.
hard.
If you
Right.
really hear enough,
If
you
I
should
was
know.
really on my game enough, I should know.
Well,
I'm not gonna tell you.
When your kids are older, you can become more devoted.
True. I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Okay.
They've been in here.
We'll give you a bye.
But you don't want them here every day.
Right.
I don't want
Quick
them here every
visit.
day. Yeah.
It's like,
In and out. Is there a particular style that you probably will never, I won't say never, but probably will never brew?
People ask us what we like to drink when we're not drinking our own beer, and I always say like lagers, because it's something that I don't think we'll ever brew. It's something we like to drink when we're not here, but I don't think we'll ever dedicate our fermentation space or anything to it.
They're,
we
they
definitely
take a long
talk.
time.
We definitely chat about
But yeah, we love them.
German lagers. Like I just found this because there's like so many, and then a lot of them are done so well. And we definitely like seek those out and share them. And be like, oh, you gotta try this out. It's just a nice break, absolutely,
Yeah.
from everything else that's going on.
But yeah, we have that love for them. But yeah, at the same time, we'll probably never brew them.
You have cool companies like Vine Stefan that's been open for 1,000 years. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's this crazy heritage from these beers. But yeah, again, no plans here for a lager at any point.
So, but here's an idea for you. Lagers need to be done at really cold temps.
Right.
You're getting ready to expand anyways, which we'll be moving into in just a second. Why don't you put some fermentation tanks up on like top of the building, and then you can just do it during the winter? I mean, it's already cold anyways. If you're going to expand,
Too cold.
just like. But aren't you doing something with your heating to like get some stuff up and out?
Yeah, so we're part of the expansion here is a larger brewing system, and the portion of the glycol, the cooling system that produces heat, is going to be installed on the roof of the building. Keep the heat out of the brewery, basically. And the same, we have just recently. We're a bigger walk-in as well, and there's also compressors that produce the cold air for a walk-in cooler. They also produce heat too, and so we have initial plans now to mount those on the roof of the building as well. So essentially, I tell people it's like putting a space heater in front of your refrigerator. You're counteracting, you're trying to create cool air, but you have this hot heat producer, heat sink essentially on top of that same device. So we have the chance now to put that stuff on the roof instead, keep the heat out of the brewery, let it be more efficient in the colder months because it's cold out right now, so it has to work a lot less harder. So it drops energy bills down. It's way more efficient for the system and keeps the brewery itself at like a more level temperature. So
I do think that if you got creative, you could make it work.
For a few months.
For a few months, right. You just need it to be like a good chunk of time so you could do like one lager beer a year, and then you just let it sit there during the summer.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Like it's like the lager beer thing. It's like these companies have been doing this for like thousands of years.
Right.
They're so
Like you
good.
said,
They're
there's
like never going to touch
lot
it. Like we'll never be happy with like a lager style. Like
Right.
you can never do it and like it. And it's just like there's no point at that.
All right, fine.
Really
I'll
high
take
standards.
I'll take my creativity and I'll leave it alone for now.
Go make your own lager.
Yeah, you homebrew.
Well, I can't even make my own Becosa brew. Like, we tried. It was bad. Moving on, though, to round two. We're going to start talking about more about the expansion. You told us some of the logistics of it, but what I would like to know is, kind of how it came to be. You only opened up a year ago. Why didn't you just open up that big?
The easiest way to answer that question is Jake and I financed this project ourselves to this point. So we save money, as I say, working in the real world. And we bought our equipment kind of piece by piece, and we used the capital, money that we're making at our regular jobs to kind of put into the company and pay the lease and buy grain and buy hops. So we were doing that kind of as we were going. So it was imperative that we still worked a regular job to keep this rolling initially as a startup. And that's really the reason why, just capital and collateral as far as getting a loan or finding investors. And we wanted to our goal is to own the company, the two of us basically. And so the idea was to start at that size, knowing that it's going to be too small right away, but affordable for us as far as equipment costs, and then work our way up to a point where we could write a business plan and submit it and start looking for financing, which we did within the first year of opening. We started writing the business plan pretty much right away, and started going out talking to banks and landed some financing, and that without any investments. So, and that's where we are right now. So we've got the money we need to move forward with a larger system. I've shown the bank that we can do what we said we can do, and that's kind of the reason why the business is based the way it is.
So how big are you now, and how big are you going to be?
We have essentially a 1-barrel brew house right now, and we're upgrading to a 10-barrel brew house.
Wow.
That's
just still really small.
Right,
but it's a lot bigger
but
for
it's
us.
still a big leap. Yeah, 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From tiny to small, basically. That's what I tell people.
Right.
yeah. So will you? Right now, you're only open 2 days a week.
Yep.
Will you be open more? Or are you still going to stick to that 2 days a week?
I think the plans are back up to at least open. We're open Fridays and Saturdays from 12 to 7. Just let everybody know. And then, but we're to back up to Thursdays for sure. And I think we probably just keep 12 to 7. It's easy hours.
Yep.
And that's the plan. We have more beer right now. Like if we were open 3 days last week, we would have been in trouble for beer this week. And you can't just make more beer as soon as you need it, as we all know. So it's key to be ahead of that. And from the busy to a slow weekend, the 2 days, 14 hours total every week is just about right for us right now. So, and we're selling 96% of all of our beer here, and minimal distribution right now. So
the beer tastes like you just magic it, but that's not how it happens. You don't just magic and then there's beer.
No, that's it.
We need more magic.
So why can't you just magic yourself some more? So you already have the financing in place.
yes.
And you pushed through into the second bay.
Yep.
And now, where are you at?
I mean, as of at this point in time, as far as like hard construction, we've got some chilled water lines that have been put up on the wall, and we've got the biggest first step was to install a new drain system for the what will be the unit 6, which will be all the production will be taking place. This is just going to help us basically get wastewater out of the brewery faster. So basically starting from the ground up. So they came in this week and removed a bunch of the concrete slab and installed the drain, and then they're coming tomorrow to pour concrete for the new slab and get that worked out, and then basically just working up from there. So I'm working from the ground up, trying to get the space itself prepared for all of the equipment as it starts to arrive.
So have you already, I'm assuming you must have, but have you already put in your order for your equipment?
Yeah, we put that order in approximately, I think it was about 4 months ago now. So I think it had been about an 18 to 20 week lead time from order, down payment to shipping.
Wow.
So yeah, we'll be receiving equipment 2 shipments mid-November, mid-December.
So not only does the beer itself take time, but also the equipment to get to you. So you and the hops, like everything here in a brewery seems to be, you have to plan it to happen long before it actually can happen.
Yeah.
Is that a proper?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's standard anyways, I guess, in the brewing world, but also too just based on the growth of the brewing industry. Like all these places that are producing stainless steel tanks now are back ordered. Like they've got more orders than they can ever fulfill, basically. Basically everyone who's in this industry is like doing as much as they can, trying to produce as much as they can as fast as possible. But they kind of can't keep up, really.
There's a lot of breweries that are in the same boat we're in right now in this country too, and so like a lot of people have started a year and a half or 2 years ago and are ready to upgrade. So it's not only like there are a lot of people like kind of in the same area. A lot of people are literally on the same timeline that we're on right now. So, but I feel like so far we've gotten the time frame was perfect for us. Really, I mean, we actually don't need it any sooner than they're going to get it to us. Any sooner would be too soon. So the timeline's really been great for us. So, yeah.
So you said you are going from tiny to small. Is there any plans of going from small to like medium small, or even
Not
like
as small.
Not as small,
A little less small.
like a small medium or?
No, I mean, we talk a lot about the future, obviously, as we should, and we don't talk about necessarily going with a larger brew house anytime in the near future. A lot of breweries will start, the brew houses are baseline or production, and then you can add fermenters, basically, to start producing more beer. You can brew more frequently and fill more fermenters, and that's definitely in our future, I would say, if everything's going the way that we want it to. That would definitely be in our future. And then we talk about other things, but it's much further down the road. So, yeah.
At this point, it's like very much focused on this initial sort of, like we're almost just starting from ground zero at this point.
It's like starting a business all over again, really, in a way. I mean, just like we're getting all new equipment.
We call it an upgrade, but let's be honest, like this is like
Austin Street 2.0.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the new deal.
Yeah, everything, all the licensing, everything, we have to go back to the TTV, back to the state. It has to be all redone again. Everything has, all the floor plans have to be reapproved. The state's got to come back through. We got to wait for the federal government again. So it's we knew that getting into it. It's just that's, as I mentioned in the earlier question, that's kind of what we knew we were getting into that ahead of time, starting off small and expanding right away. And we're quick, like a lot of people come in and talk to us about like businesses expanding. Like we're in a pretty fast expansion as far as businesses are concerned, but as far as breweries are concerned, we're probably slower almost. The upgrades are happening so quickly. People are like it's just, I don't know, it's crazy. It's awesome.
Well, craft beer is starting to take over, not completely take over, but craft beer is starting to make a dent, at least, into some of the big beer things. So it's nice to see as a consumer of
It's
craft beer.
fantastic that there's.
I think we're 16 or 17% of the total beer market in the country. That may have 2014 figures, but
I think Maine's got to be at least a little bit higher than that, just as a state. There's so many.
our ownership,
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. So is there any last thing that you would like to tell? If somebody's like, I've got a tiny brewery, but I'd like to be a small one. What should they know before they move on?
I guess it's pretty, I don't have a very exciting answer, but I think just general, like with any other company, just planning and doing numbers. And I think for us, like for writing a business plan and looking at like doing 3 years of sales projections and cost of goods sold and brewing schedules and building all those spreadsheets and taking all that time, I don't think we could be successful if we hadn't done that. Even if someone was just like, here's $1 million, or just like do whatever you want. I think it's imperative that business plan was done, and I feel like that's one advice I give somebody if they're like, we're ready to go forward, and this guy gave us person gave us a bunch of money and said go ahead for it. I would still say sit down and pretend like you're going to try to get someone to finance you still, and you'll learn so much about what you thought you were doing and what you actually can do, and that completely really changed our future, just looking at the numbers and sitting down and thinking about what's actually coming up in the future, and feel so much more prepared and so much more confident about like the next steps, because it's right on paper. We know what to expect. So.
I think that's a big part of it, is like proving the product, and also like the business plan and everything else, not just kind of like thinking like this will probably work, like this should work.
We hope it works.
My friends and family like to be here.
Well, people like listening to stories about beer. It should work.
Be fine. Yeah.
We're screwed, Jay, and we're screwed.
And like still having a good time too with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So doing these kind of things, and this is like the really fun part, as well. So like still going out, having a good time, talking to people, going to events, things like that. So.
And are either of you still working a quote-unquote real job? Are you?
Nope. We're both 100% here. So.
When were you able to give that up?
I was able to give it up right away.
Peace.
Basically, yeah. Yep, I'm out. See ya. As soon as we are producing beer, basically, even though we are so ridiculously small right now, it still requires someone to be here constantly, just doing something, brewing, bottling,
Right.
kegging beer, cleaning, etc. Will took a little while longer to get Will in here, but he's in here now, which is awesome.
It was about 4 weeks ago or so.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
Wow.
I was being very conscientious about that financial switchover personally and for the brewery as well. But I feel I was confident at that time with where everything was at, that it was the right thing to do that. So with Jake being the head of production, it was obvious right away that we had to do that, or someone was going to die from exhaustion. We were brewing on Sundays and then running the tasting room and then going to a regular job Monday through Friday. So it's doable, but the energy needs to be on this.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Well, I think now that we're starting to have you share some more about yourselves and how overly exhausted you are, we are going to move right on to round 3.
So we'll take you back in time to think about your first beer memory. And don't worry, it doesn't have to be when you were of legal drinking age. Just, that moment where you thought about beer.
craft? Do you want craft beer? This is something I want to be a part of, or
Just your first association with beer, which for me was when I was little. So.
There was never really one moment, I guess. What I tell people is when I first started drinking beer, it was always just Bud Light or Corona or whatever was being handed to you at parties.
Oh, yeah.
And I always felt like I was just kind of drinking it just to kind of fit in. And it wasn't until I discovered good beer, initially it was Sam Adams and Sierra Nevada, but that's when it really sparked an interest. That's when it was oh, there's actual flavors in here.
Right. Not just wine.
This is actually enjoyable.
So, and those parties were not happening in California.
No, definitely not.
Maybe. I mean,
Facebook.
We'll never know, dude. We'll never. Facebook, as far as Facebook knows. I guess I'm kind of the same line too. Is it has a lot to do with what beers were available at that age, and I guess it was kind of what could people grab out of their parents' fridge and stuff like that. I remember I have a distinct memory of warm cans of Miller Genuine Draft. That comes up really right away. My dad, my parents are from Ohio, so my dad used to drink a lot of Rolling Rock, and that was always in the fridge. But the one memory that kind of ties it into Maine is that my dad always had a lot of Geary's Pale Ale in the fridge too, and even I know even when he was drinking it back then, that wasn't a common beer for people to have in their fridge at home. I know that Geary's was established and doing well at that point in time, but I feel that wasn't what my friends' parents had. My dad always had a 6-pack of Pale Ale laid on its side. The bottom of his fridge. I remember that was pretty much always a staple in his fridge. So I just kind of remember that as being a Maine beer, a beer that was made in Maine versus all the ABC beers that were out there otherwise. So
nice. So I have a question about parties. Sorry to jump on the round.
No, that's okay.
So where you guys grew up, did you have parties out in a house, or did you have to go out in the woods, or were you in the sand pit? I mean, because that's kind of
well,
I grew up in Oxford Hills. There were sand pits involved in ours.
We grew up in Gloucester, so
all the above.
All the above.
Yeah, honestly,
someone's parents are gone, or
whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. But the outdoors had a lot to do with it. So pits and things like that, absolutely.
Yeah, pit parties. Those are what we called them.
Oh yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think that just is going to bring us right to the final round.
Final round.
Cool.
Round 4 we lovingly refer to as 3 sheets to the wind, 3 random questions, which aren't really random to us, but they're a little random because they have nothing to do with beer. So our first question is actually going to keep you right in that younger days of yours and ask you what was your favorite childhood cartoon? Oh, we got the finger point.
Oh man, I would say I think my favorite was probably I remember watching it every morning before school was Darkwing Duck.
Oh yeah.
So and my second answer would be Tailspin. which is not as well known, but nice little indie cartoon. Great character representation.
It's Disney. I don't know if that's indie.
True. I'm going Jack and Duck. Like, I remember that. I watched that before I went to school in the morning. I was like eating cereal.
Do you know?
No.
Okay, so what normally happens is somebody will say a cartoon and I'll be completely lost. So this is kind of awesome because I actually know exactly what you're talking about. So it's this duck, and he's got, obviously...
Dark wings.
Well, he's got like a purple cape, and he's like this... He was a good guy, right? Wasn't he? Wasn't he a crime fighter?
Yeah, he was a crime fighter.
Yeah, so he's like and he had a mask on. No, I completely... I'm like, finally know what somebody's talking about. And Tailspin, have you heard of that one? I think there's an airplane involved, right?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, and a mouse, like, there was a mouse plane flyer.
Father and son, they were both bears, I think, and, like, they ran,
right, no, the
sketchy missions and their, like, delivery missions. Or,
I feel like there was a girl mouse in it.
Yeah, it was, like, kind of the love interest of the main character.
Even mice have love interest.
Very G, but G-rated.
And as indie as Disney gets.
Yes, exactly. Very small releases, pretty obscure cartoon.
You're up.
So mine, I guess, would be a little more old school. I'd go with Bugs Bunny.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And just like everything involved with Bugs Bunny, I guess. Like
Looney Tunes.
all the characters, Yosemite Sam, Wile E. Coyote,
Roadrunner, baby. Yeah, that's awesome.
So you like the Acme products? The ones that
the Acme Anvil.
Yeah. Always good ideas, but terrible execution. Yeah.
But quick recovery.
Yeah. Something else right behind it.
Okay, excellent. So on that note, what song do you have stuck in your head right now?
Go first this time.
Right now, nothing, I guess. If I were to have a song stuck in my head right now, it would probably be a Wilco tune, perhaps.
We're coming to the state.
My new obsession, and
Yes,
I grabbed my tickets.
We're good to go.
We're both going. We're both big Wilco fans.
All of Austin Street will be at the Wilco show.
Yes.
Just everybody heads up. The entire company will be there.
Nice. And Jane.
And
She
Jane.
said she had her ticket.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you there, Jane.
Okay, excellent.
We're both definitely big Wilco fans. I've been listening to... My friend told me about an artist called Matt Duncan. I've been listening a lot to lately. And the CD is really good. I've been listening... This particular song called Beacon is actually in my head right now. I'm listening to it over and over again.
I don't know any of these songs. Would you like to sing that one to us?
I don't think you want to.
No?
I don't think you want to hear that.
I try every time.
You really always ask
really
people to sing. It's
really
true.
bad things for what you have going on here. I don't think that would necessarily be like a positive addition to
If you're trying to convince them it's good music, then probably not.
But that song is terrible.
Matt Duncan probably wouldn't appreciate that, maybe.
We've gotten like 4 people to sing for us
Yes.
out of 17 episodes. So our return rate's not great, but I try every time.
Okay.
So, anyways, our final question. Now we're going to ask you to think back, not quite so far, just the past week. And what was the best thing you had to eat?
Ours is easy. It's early in the week, and we just had a sit down with Mommy Food Truck. They do all Japanese food, and we're going to be working with them for a beer dinner coming up for Portland Beer Week. And so they brought a bunch of awesome food over to pair with our beers, and so we just had some really nice stuff.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Which I can't even describe it.
It's so good. They came last week and they tried a couple beers here that we want to use for this event, and we kind of they tried them, we kind of sent them on their way, and they came back today basically with the food that they thought would do well, and the pairings were just out of control.
They nailed it.
It's Hannah and Austin from the truck that do all the cooking. They work together on that, and the food is just out of control, and the pairings are just on point. So it's we gave them some pretty tough pairing beers to pair with. They're on different ends of the spectrum, and they came back with just incredible food.
So by the time this actually airs for all of our listeners, it will have already happened.
Oh, okay.
But they can go on to our YouTube because we're actually going to be here and Periscope that.
Oh, cool.
And so people will be able to go back and kind of check it out and see what they have to offer.
That's nice.
So make sure you look for the video. I'll put a link in the show notes, and you'll be able to see all the crazy, amazing things that Mommy Food Truck did with Austin Street.
Absolutely.
So,
And then you can go next year.
and then you can go next year, because this is always going to be like the go-to event. So on that note, I think... Oh, I was going to ask. I always ask, what beer did you pair it with? But it was obviously your beer.
Yes, it was our beer in that situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we're gonna put milk stout and grist mill in there.
Awesome.
Completely
Yep.
ends the
Yes,
spectrum. So that's why the
absolutely.
food challenge was just like, all right, let's see these guys put them to the test. They're kind of on the same page we are as far as getting their business going and getting things rolling and stuff like that. I mean, it's going now, and they're doing an awesome job. So, but we really like those folks, and all the food trucks have been awesome to work with around town. So.
Yeah, I one thing that I love about this area, I kind of get a little geeky and a little sappy about it, but I love how everybody kind of like collaborates and gets creative together, and it's like, if you're being creative, then I'm going to be creative, and you kind of like push each other to like do your very best. And
Yeah, even though it's food and beer, we're still like kind of competing with each other. Like, I don't know how, because we're both doing two things that are going
Right.
together, but everyone's like, all right, like they're like, we're gonna do the best food we can with this, and
yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
When is Portland Beer Weekend? November what?
1st through the 7th.
Yeah, kickoff is that Sunday when this event is November 1st. So awesome things going on every night. Too many to choose from, really, at this point in time. It's like a three-ring circus, like what to watch, you know.
Yeah, we'll be at a bunch of them, so you can find, we're going to upload all those, and you can find them on our show notes, so you can see them, and you can plan for next year, because you are going to want to be in Maine for Portland Beer Week, because it is so freaking cool. On that note, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
cheers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Portland Beer Week was quite amazing. The food that Mommy Food Truck put together still has me drooling. Head over to our show notes at greatbeeradventure.com/022 to find links to the YouTube clips and to our catch account so you can see videos from that week. Thank you so much to Will and Jake for their amazing hospitality. I need to figure out how to get a direct keg line from the brewery to my house for that milk stout. I am swooning. Our website has more and more content coming your way, so be sure to head over there and check it out. We are on the hunt for content contributors as well as a number of co-hosts. If you love beer and are interested in working with us, send us an email at hi@greatbeeradventure.com. Next week, we'll be discussing how beers are kept fresh from the keg to your glass. The music throughout today's episode is by Old Etc. out of Biddeford, Maine. To learn more about them, head over to greatbeeradventure.com/music. We have new things headed your way every week and can't wait to share them with you. Special thanks to our behind-the-scenes guru, Dano Pugach. Photography for this episode is by Dustin Jordan. Today's episode was created, produced, and edited by me, Amanda. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time, and cheers. Want to know more? Be sure to find us on Instagram at Great Beer Women. If you haven't done so already, be sure to head over to greatbeeradventure.com/subscribe to subscribe. That way, you'll be the first to know when a new episode goes live. Also, don't forget to tell your friends about us. A small party is fun, but a huge party is extraordinary. Let's get more people knowing about beer in the great state of Maine. Great Beer Adventure is part of the Great Pint Society. All right. We're all set.
Cool. We have a seat.
Yeah. I mean, if you can really project, then you don't have to sit down now. That's fine. So the way it normally works is I'll start us off.
Okay.
And then we move through the rounds. Round 1 is tasting your delicious beers. Round 2 is talking about our theme, which is the fact that you guys are expanding, kind of like what that process is and everything. So Dana loves tasting beer, so she does round 1. I do too, but it's one of her favorites, so I let her go for it. I'll do round 2. That's the theme one, and then round 3, Jane will ask you about your first beer memory, and then I'll wrap it up with 4 random questions. 3 random questions in round 4.
Why we've expanded.
No, we have not. We have not expanded. We should have expanded the theme, but no. Right. So, yeah, they're not really random. We know exactly what they'll be, but they have nothing to do with beer.
Right.
Right.
Cool. Okay. Got
Okay.
it. First
Cool.
beer memory. Oh god, it's supposed to be legal.
Not necessarily. No. Yeah, there's. We have quite a few different.
Age ranges.
Yeah.
I won't name mine.
say just don't say any names.
Long time ago.
All right.